we will start with Karen on this. On a scale of 1 to 10, where does Sheriff Joe fall on your hero list and why? And you have 1 minute to answer this question.
On the scale, it's at least an 8, quite frankly. The man is willing to take on the world and not apologize for it. He feels that he's doing the right things. I think he's doing the right things in a lot of ways. He gets sued probably every day, and it doesn't seem to bother him, which I really respect, because why roll over for these special interest people, special interest groups that have no clue what we do in law enforcement when we're out there trying to protect them? He has a great advantage because he has a great environment to put tents up, which would really help myself and Sheriff Smith in putting tents here in Treasure Valley, but we don't have that opportunity because of the weather. But I think that the most important thing is that he's willing to buck the system and say, you know what, what's right's right and what's wrong's wrong, and if you don't like it, don't come to my jail. I don't want you here anyway. So that's why he's looking out for the people.
Hey, Robert.
Well, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, as we've seen on television, we always see on television the news splatters images of horrendous crimes perpetrated by youthful offenders, politicians eager to look tough on crime, issue promises that they will cure America of this disease by severely cracking down on juvenile delinquency. Community policing, crime control policing, problem-oriented policing, ethical values are also important frameworks for a leader, and I believe he espouses those ethical values, and these values describe who we are at the core as individuals. The integration of values, knowledge, and skills which he uses is needed for the conscientious use of self and their application to constitute the defining core challenges developed by personal ethics, morals, and especially oaths taken for service and duty. Key word, oaths taken for service and duty. We can get into the Constitution. I've stood there with Sheriff Joe Arpaio and Sheriff Mack, and we have reaffirmed that oath together.
Okay, I'm going to ask the sheriff candidates another question, and Robert, you'll answer this, and you'll have 1 minute to answer this one as well. As the county shrinks and the cities grow, the need for cooperation within the different agencies here in Canyon County as well as the Ada County and surrounding counties, as that need increases, what will you do to make sure that that cooperative effort serves the people the best? Robert, 1 minute.
As sheriff, I would urge county officials to enter into the County Corrections Partner Initiative. It's called a CCIP. The next step would be to form a jail committee that would join with the ACLU in doing an education legal-based program which would examine the issues associated with the facility and identify the solutions to overcrowding. We can stand there day after day and spend hundreds of thousands giving it to the ACLU, which that money in turn goes to other special interests through private donations, which in turn create constitutional issues for all of us. So my situation is to create doors that are open to allow each group, whether it's from the city, the county, the state, the federal government, private institutions, private associations, an opportunity to sit down in a room like this and do an assessment of what's wrong, what's right, what can we afford, and how can we plan to improve all those conditions that we have. We will never, ever solve all the problems. We will never, ever be liked by everybody, but it has to be done.
Thank you. Karen?
Well, quite frankly, we already have that relationship, Vicki. Right now, we have the highest level of inter-cooperation by interagencies, state, local, and federal, that anyone in law enforcement in this area has known in their history and in our history. So quite frankly, what we will do and what we'll continue to do is develop what we already have in place. And myself, I have extensive experience of working with literally every law enforcement agency in the Treasure Valley, right up through the Attorney General's office, the United States Attorney's office, and literally every county prosecuting attorney's office, because you can't leave them out. We in law enforcement depend on the prosecuting attorney's offices, both state and federal. So as we shrink in resources and in area for the counties, we absolutely have to continue to develop and support our other law enforcement agencies like NAMPA, Caldwell, Meridian, etc., because it's proven none of us can do this on our own. We simply don't have the resources, so we'll continue to support that idea.
And Karen, you have just 30 seconds to answer.
What ambitious vision to work independently with tireless efforts will you use for the collective restoration of the Bill of Rights for those deputies that have a class action lawsuit as veterans who went to fight for our country? What will you do to ensure that that doesn't happen again?
Well, I can't say that's happened at all, but what we have is under USERRA, we actually look out for our veterans who get deployed to fight our wars and to protect our civil rights as Americans, and we hold their positions. Once they get back, they are able to walk back into the same position they left under USERRA and under our own policy guidelines at the Canyon County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, you want to pose your question, Karen?
Yes, Robert, based on your experience as a detention deputy with Whitey County Sheriff's Office, what other actual and true law enforcement experience do you bring to the table to work in a 300-plus personnel office and face the complex issues we face at Canyon County?
Yeah, of course there'll be internal and external opposition to my plan based on constitutional principles and values. You know, this is inevitable and may prove that this is a great opportunity to get my programs across. My ability to accomplish my intent will depend on how I'm able to address the criticisms which you have just asked me. For example, veteran officers may resist my efforts to transform the way they conduct operations, and I will win them over by enlisting them and integrating their collective wisdom into my plan, demonstrating in some sense how and what they had previously done.
Thank you very much. You're going to go ahead and give your 30-second closing. Okay? 30-second closing. This is the true test of a good politician.
Do you want a prayer? 30 seconds, ready to start. A successful law enforcement policy takes a constitutional multilateral approach whereby crime targeting, community relations, officer commitment, and finally clear modes of assessment and accountability are merged into a coherent modality. Once I've received the results, they must be processed, interpreted, and communicated regardless of the trends. The data then must be used to provide feedback on the policy itself and to adapt it more effectively to the realities as best they can be apprehended. Once feedback loop is established and you demonstrate that I'm listening to the data regardless of the outcome, I can adjust as needed. Thank you. Vote for Robert Muse.
Thank you, good night, for coming. Thanks for coming.